Oh,
Good
I was still jamming out. Sorry.
You jam. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Oh man, I am just a wee bit on the struggle bus this morning. I am to say that I am exhausted today would be an understatement. It's echoing. Why is it echoing? Am I still echoing, Rod? Is that me? I don't have anything else open.
My voice? I'm just...
Right? No kidding. Roman, good morning. Thank you for being here. Hi, Mom. I'm echoing.
Do you have two mic sources open? Because
No?
you're not echoing. Both of us are echoing?
Okay, Ro, do you have two tabs open? Can someone else say if we're both echoing? Cajun, do you hear an echo? Hi, Brett. Thank you for being here. Hold on. Let's get this issue figured out before we dive in. No. Okay.
So it's just you, Rode.
It's just you. I'm not echoing, Roman says. No. Hi, darling. How are you?
Hi, Doug's.
You know what, Roman? I'm gonna mod you because I need mods. Okay, Roman, you are now a mod. Please be responsible. And I'm also gonna mod Road. Hold on.
Responsibilities.
Right. Okay. You got it. Okay, cool. Thank you, Road. All right. So, how is everyone this morning? How are we doing? How are you on this lovely? I'm running around crazy at the moment. No worries, Road. No worries. We approve you being here. So do your craziness. Hi, darling. How are you? First of all, before we get going, I want to give, neither of them will ever see this, but I want to say a huge happy birthday to Gina Carano. We hope you have an absolutely lovely day. And also a huge happy birthday to X-Ray Girl. We hope you and Mark have an absolutely fantastic, beautiful day together, and that Mark spoils you to no end. So happy birthday to both those amazing ladies.
Yes. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but I did some extra dressing up for this one. I'm not just in a normal t-shirt. I have a t-shirt and a fancy thing over this. You're welcome.
I just crawled out of bed. I feel lucky I have the very tiny amount of makeup on that I do. I was like, you know what? If Tugs can pull off the top knot look, so can I. Because I just don't care this morning.
I chopped off my hair so I don't have to worry about that crap, man. I'm just I just do this. I'm like, oh, it looks okay. Let's go.
Last year, I chopped off my hair about at my shoulders. It was down to my elbows for my birthday, and I am dying to get it down to be that length again. So, yeah, I hope it does. So, anyways, okay, let's dive in. Before we do, please smash the like button if you can. It'll help. And
thank you, Phil.
I was distracted. Thank you, Phil. You're much appreciated. I shave my head every week. Some doing my hair, putting in a hat. What? I have to shave. I shave my head every week. So, okay. Cool, Cajun. I'm sorry. My brain is not computing. My brain's like, no, I don't know what that means.
So doing his hair is just putting a hat on. When his version of doing his hair is putting a hat on. Don't worry, Cajun. I'm from South Alabama, near the Mississippi side. I got you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Georgia side, but still.
All right. So this morning we are talking the last two chapters of the Silmarillion, which is about the fall of Numenor and the rise of the Third Age. And okay, we're gonna be real honest. Both of us have had very long weeks. We only skimmed the appendices because it's it's almost the exact same thing. It's such a big repeat, but it's such an abbreviated version. So if you don't read the Silmarillion, it some things I think can get lost in. I live in Middle Tennessee. Oh, cool. some things can get lost in translation, but yeah, like I was not
Your
wrong.
book looks so big compared to mine. Mine looks tiny.
This is well, that's because this is the full. This is all 3.
Oh, so
this
like
is all
my
3.
whole. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I was
So
just
this is the original. Well, not this isn't the original, but this is what I originally read The Lord of the Rings in. So I had to donate my copy. So I found a good copy on Amazon or eBay for $4, and I was like, yeah, I need this cover because this is like my cover. This is the one I have an attachment to. So yeah, so we did skim the appendices, and the amount of info about in here that's about the Second Age and Numenor and dwarves is almost next to nil. Like, no joke.
It's basically a kind of like an in-depth talk and discussion about the Third Age, like, and what you already read in the Lord of the Rings series. It's basically like, hey, did you know that while Aragorn was doing this, Sam and all of the other people were doing this thing, and this, you know, it's just like a little.
This is when Legolas and Gimli left, and this is when Celeborn left, and all these things. This is what happened to Arwen after. That's basically all it is. Like, we have the lineage of kings from Numenor in the appendices, and we get a tiny infinitesimal amount of information. But, like, you know, again, Gil-galad is mentioned to cut, like, in the Fellowship, but like that, I have a feeling that's what they're drawing on.
Right. Well, I guess like my thought, like as far as what Amazon, because this is the only information that Amazon has, is just a repeat of the Lord of the Rings and a little bit of it, like it's basically a short summary of the Silmarillion. So they have access to a little bit of the First Age, like very, very. What's that, Salty Texas? Like a very itty-bitty tiny smidge amount of the First Age.
Yep. It's like the shortest summary ever. I'm just like, I laugh. I wish I could summarize my work that well, because I'm like, you wrote all this and you got it into a paragraph? Are you kidding me? Really? That ability to summarize that well, I would be so happy.
Yes, it does. It does take a bit to read. But yeah, like listen to a paragraph.
Yes, literally. Fëanor was hot-headed. He made the Silmarillions. End of story.
Like there was a bunch of stuff that happened. This is kind of what happened. Here we go.
Congratulations. Read my other book.
Basically, that's what he says. He's like, here's kind of the summary. You should read the book, though.
Yeah. Which I think is just like, that is so, just as a professor, professors do that all the time, and it drives me nuts. But it's also like the most like epic self-plug ever.
It's like, hey, here's like the really good parts, the really like the hooks. Like, hey, you know, this cool stuff happens, but you need to read the book.
So anyways, so yeah, so what we're going to try and focus on mainly today is Numenor from the Silmarillion, not necessarily from the appendices because it's hardly mentioned. Just simply because we both feel like, at least in this first season, because we still are knocking around the idea, what in the hell is this? I'm going to read them again together. That's awesome!
Yes!
Ladies!
Do the thing.
Right here!
Do the thing. Yes.
That's awesome.
I'm like, which side is this side?
I know, I hate that. Where'd it go? Hi, Nick. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm not joking when I say I'm on the struggle bus. The show is going to be centered around at least this first season, because again, this whole shipwreck thing, Galadriel was never on a shipwreck, as far as we know.
Yeah. So guys, you know that whole thing about like the scene where the human moves back Galadriel's hair and she's an elf.
Oh, she doesn't move it back, he yanks it back.
Basically. But it's just like that she was never on a boat like that we can really read. It's like, yeah, that we're thinking that's Numenor. That's gotta be Numenor. There's the old like, hi Miss Martin.
Okay. Yeah, that's the best image I could find of it.
Hi, I too. Oh my God. I too.
Doctor Who, Star Trek, Discovery. Yeah, I know, Salty. I've heard you ranting about it. I like it. It makes me so sick to my stomach. I can't even deal. So, anyways, okay. So let's dive into this before I lose my train of thought again, because people are gonna leave because they're like, Alasia can't talk this morning. No, I can't. Thank God Amanda's here.
Oh, guys. Also, like, just to like, because I don't think that we're going to talk much about it because it is literally one sentence in the appendices. So hobbits are mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
One sentence in the entire appendices. All 150 pages, there's like a sentence. It's like, and the hobbits were having issues, blah, de blah, de blah. Sometime in the Third Age.
That's it.
There's no really mention of little people, no mention of little, like, small, hairy men.
There's one. They literally just say, and I, for the life of me, can't remember where it is. There is one tiny little mention of people who dwell by the river and that they were fisher folk.
Ah, yeah.
That's it. We don't know if they're hobbits because he says that, like, the men at this time were like splitting off and making different groups, and that one of them settled by the river and they were fisher folk, and that was during the Second Age. But they're not hobbits. But I bet you anything, again, that they're going to take that and misconstrue it.
Those two people walking with the moose antler. I met moose, a very pretty moose. Old boy moose go whack.
You know, being Southwest, I'm just like, it's just, that's
sorry for those of you who don't get that reference.
Salting thing. I don't even want to. I just want to like burn that from my mind. Let me check my donations just really. Well, I did refresh my donations. My mom said sit up straight. No, going to slouch this morning. Too tired.
I have no neck now.
Thank you, Mom, for the $5. I'll go get groceries with it. So, anyways, okay, let's dive in. So, Numenor. The whole reason it was what? Go on.
So, yeah. So I was about to say, don't forget like the little bit before Numenor, like why it even existed.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, continue. My apologies.
No, you're fine. Why did it exist? The whole reason it existed was okay. So Elrond's brother Elros chose to be of mortal men, whereas Elrond decided to stay Elven because they were of the half Elven, and the the Valinor were like, they gave them this ultimate choice because they were from two such incredible lines. And so Elrond remained Elven. His brother Elros remained human, and he was the first king of Numenor. And so, was it the Valar or was it Iluvatar that caused Numenor?
I believe it was Iluvatar because I don't think the Valar have that
kind
power
of strength.
They don't have the power to create.
Yes.
So, like, basically, Iluvatar's like, you men during this war of wrath, like, you guys did really awesome. So I'm going to make your life, like, 3 times longer than normal men. And I'm going to give you guys a little island that's really close to us. Yes. Yay. But you can't. But the one rule was they cannot sail west to the Undying Lands, to Valar, to Valinor. Like, they could not set foot on Valinor because of reasons.
Yes. So then this race of men that basically strung up from Elros, they were the Dunedain, which is what Aragorn is called. So this name endures for 3,000 years or something. Basically. And so they called this land, it was the land of gifts, I believe, or the land of the star, because Elrond's father, whose name I get confused with all the other names that sound exactly like it, basically kind of led the way to Numenor and showed the Dunedain where Numenor was. So basically it was a gift from Iluvatar because of all the men of all of the race of men of Middle Earth, this line of men had stood like the most steadfast in the face of Morgoth's wrath. And this gift of this land, and you can definitely see, like, you can, people have said that Tolkien was basing Numenor off of Atlantis, and like, yeah, you can absolutely see that. Like, it's blatant how close this is to Atlantis. And it's this beautiful, amazing place with all these gifts, and like the weather literally will like
be perfect
and like adjust itself to human needs at like a whim. So
like,
yeah, it's the land
we could use some rain today.
Yes. So, but the one thing that's, like Mando said, the one thing that they could not do, and the thing is, okay, so Elros had long life. He lived for what, 400 and some odd years?
I think so.
Yes, I think he ruled for almost his entire lifetime. The Valinor could, or the
Valar.
Thank you. The Valar could not change that men die, even though this particular line of men had long life, and so they were forbidden from stepping foot on Valinor, on the shores of Valinor. And it's so funny, like this whole part, I wish I could ask Tolkien this. If there's one thing I could ask Tolkien, it's like, why can't you write happy things? But I know that like also he is like also writing from the perspective of we live in a fallen world, and yes, sometimes things are good, but it's like I saw this meme when Tolkien was writing the Silmarillion. It's like, and then the elves had hundreds of years of peace. ... Don't worry, it didn't last. So he's like, and then there was bliss for hundreds of years, and it's like, can I hear about the bliss, please? No.
I want more bliss, please.
I want more happiness.
I don't want the bliss to just be dots, like the dots. Also, his name was Arendiel. I have it highlighted.
Okay.
was Elrond's father.
Yes. See, Mando highlighted her book. I did not. I have had an exceptionally long week, but it's okay. It's good to do new things, even though they make you so tired you can't see straight.
Wicked Virtue, hello!
Oh, hi, darling. Good morning.
But yes, Ro, just 400 years, I mean...
just a breeze in the wind. So we know that there were, what is it, 2,000 years or something of like stability, or am I getting one of the dates wrong? There was a lot of years of stability, and
so Elros lived 500 years, lived 500 years and ruled Numenor for 410. I had that highlighted on page 312. Okay, trying to more than 2,000 years. I have that highlighted too. Yay!
Girl,
highlighting.
I'm just like, oh, we wrote a book. I don't know. Don't ask me questions. I'm too tired to answer.
Collecting interest on 400 years might be nice. I mean, it's not a drop in the bucket.
That's not.
It's the whole bucket.
But it's funny. I don't know if anyone caught my stream with Lady Gravemaster last Saturday, but we talked about how so many of these current day fantasy authors are obsessed with immortality, and that there's a lot going on in our culture, really awful, horrible things that kind of reflect this fear of death, even though it's going to happen to everybody. It's funny that, hey, big sis, that Numenor fell for the exact same reasons. This obsession.
They're like, man, we would like to live forever.
Literally.
And the Valar's like, but you're mortal men. We have no control over your life.
Yeah.
Apparently you guys get some gift that we don't even know about. And the men are like, but we want to be like you.
Yep. And just like the level of wickedness that started infecting Numenor. I mean, we have, I don't want to jump ahead, Mando, so interrupt me if you want, but there's just not like, he kind of just says like, and the strength and beauty of Numenor grew. Like, and you can, I mean, from this, I wish I had a better picture, but like from the trailer, you can see like there are John Howe and Alan Lee paintings of the statues that the Numenorians built, and we have the Argonath. We know how big those are. These men were capable of great feats, just of beauty and of culture and of strength. So you get the idea that Numenor, for all these hundreds of years that these good kings were in power, must have just been breathtaking.
Well, like when the Numenorians were going to Middle Earth, because guys, when after the War of Wrath, there was no one apparently in Middle Earth that cared enough about Middle Earth to care about the men that helped them out. And then the Numenorians would come back, like they'd sail back periodically and help the men of Middle Earth like relearn how to read and write and do all these things. And in on 315 of the Silmarillion, it talks about the men of Middle Earth were afraid of the Numenorians, but eventually they came to revere them, and they called them tall sea kings. And when they departed, they called them gods for hoping their return. They were like gods to these people. Like they wouldn't dwell long in Middle Earth, but they would go there, they would help the people, and then they'd go back.
Yeah.
Like they did this for thousands of years.
And it's funny, and definitely, I mean, Tolkien, we talked about this last time with the Silmarillions, that beauty and power are part of this world, but they corrupt, and they are so easily corrupted. And it's incredible to just watch the fall of Numenor just slip into decay and like debauchery, like literally debauchery, like human sacrifice, which there's a reason for that. We'll get into that. But it's incredible that Tolkien just, he didn't shy away from those themes, especially here. You know what I mean? Like, he's not afraid to write about the fact that at first the Numenorians started off good, and they brought they brought culture, and they taught men how to carve, and they taught them how to make fire, essentially. And I'm like, oh, that's an imperialist. I mean, like, that could be so misconstrued by Amazon. Thank God they can't do that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, oh crap, because I'm like, these are the men of the East, like these are the Haradrim, and that can go sideways so quickly. So again, I thank God they don't have access to this book. I'm so relieved.
Well,
go ahead.
It's just crazy, like how, because I think I remember reading in the Vanity Fair article that they're gonna just gloss over a lot of this like very quickly.
The first episode, I believe, is 3 hours long, and it's just a history. But again, what history? What are they drawing from? They don't have access to this. And as we saw, the Silmarillion is summed up in the first stage is summed up in a paragraph. Now, yes, there are some things mentioned in here about the first stage, this whole thing. But I mean, like, it's snippets. It's a tower here. It's a song here. It's Gil-galad's whole lay is not even in this. Sam sings, like, I think 6 verses of the whole lay of Gil-galad. We don't even have the whole thing. So it's like, history?
What are they gonna do?
What are you talking about? Not enough caring. Can you elaborate, Brad? I'm not.
Oh, talking about like there wasn't enough caring in Middle Earth, like the reference I made about Middle Earth. But like no, serious, like Elrond, a lot of the Noldor, some other elves are there in Middle Earth, and
Excuse me, what are you doing?
For thousands of years, they're just sitting there.
Yeah, they don't like the men are just running wild. Like the men, the way that Tolkien describes it, men in Middle Earth, not the Numenorians. Men in Middle Earth are just
regress. They regret. Like it literally says that they regress to primal instincts.
Yep. Which is like insane to think about. So we have the line of Tuor and Hurin And I'm like, you're telling me they regressed back to cavemen? That's scary.
I didn't think of that.
Right?
I for some reason I thought they became part of the Numenorians.
They did, but I mean, you're telling me that every single man who came into contact with the Noldor or the elves in general just like went to Numenor? I don't know. I don't know. But like, so you have all this culture and then it just comes to a screeching halt. I don't know. I find it's incredible. If that's how evil and corruptive Morgoth was, then that's like, oh, that's saying something.
Well, I guess we also have to consider, because this is kind of a little bit of a side point, but this theory that I had mentioned to you, like, I feel like during this time, like during the Dark Ages, I think is when the little people probably had to spring into existence. I feel like I feel like Amazon's making that same assumption, because we don't hear anything about small people until the Third Age at all.
Yeah.
But the period of the dark time where we know nothing about what happened on Middle Earth, like essentially, we know a little bit, but like more or less for 3,000 years almost, Middle Earth was just left on its own to fend for itself, while all of the really awesome people that could have done things for Middle Earth were just on an island.
And then Gilgalad and Elrond are like, no, I can't be bothered.
Like, seriously, like, what's going on? Like, we get snippets of there was some fighting against Sauron's forces, but Sauron was still really weak, and the orcs were just kind of like running around like cockroaches.
The baby Twitter mob seems to show that humans are capable of regression. Amen, Charlie. Amen. Yes. Couldn't agree more. Real quickly, before we go on, I have a donation from Roman. Thank you, Roman. Literary Soul Sisters, where I come to experience how much I don't know about Lord of the Rings. I'm a cave troll. Dude, we are all cave trolls. Welcome to the club. We are all cave trolls. I can recite the movie at you, but I can't tell you I like it. Yeah. So anyways, it's
I want to know what was happening in that 3,000 years of darkness.
I do too. Same, but that's the thing. It's like when we say we want to know that thing, I want to pick Tolkien's brain. Nobody else's. I don't need anybody else's interjection. Or Christopher. Christopher knew this stuff. And you know, who knows, when we dive into the histories and the unfinished tales, I'm sure we're going to get more. But again, it's like the further we go in, the more upsetting it is. Like, forget who's writing it, forget who's in charge of it, forget how many writers you have. Just the mere fact that they're doing it alone just makes me mad. And it's just like the more I know about the history of Middle Earth, it's like the sadder this proposition even seems. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I would love to know what's going on in those years of darkness, but reading this, and again, I probably didn't read it as closely as I should have, and I hopefully will again one day, but they are literally, to my mind, taking a mere sentence and turning that into an entire story arc throughout the series. That's what they're doing, because we all keep asking, where's this history coming from? How could they possibly have Galadriel doing all these things when she was never at Numenor? As far as we know, she was never at Numenor. She's never on a shipwreck. No, they're taking sentences. They're taking suggestions. Like you said, with the dwarf, which we'll get into later. That's what they're doing. It's you know, they're give a mouse a cookie. That's what's happening. So and I think that's even more infuriating, because it's like, I would rather it be pure and utter fan fiction and just made up crap and like Lord of the Rings in name only, than them taking a sentence and being like, it's in the book. I'm like, how do you know that?
There was a thing I sent it on my Discord earlier about like there the video about a
European
romance.
lores?
Yeah, European lore's thing about the romance. So guys, literally there is a romance between two made up people.
Yep. Ar-Pharazôn's daughter, he never had any kids. He only had the two sons. And Elendil, right? Elendil's daughter.
Yes. Who never had a daughter.
Never had a daughter. ever. So this is Isildur's sister. So Isildur's sister, the one that's made up, that if I think it was just some guy who said that they're gonna screw up Aragorn's lineage, and I bet you anything they are. It's this sister, Isildur's sister, that's not real, and one of Ar-Pharazôn's. Oh man, the level of incest that's going on in that family.
So the Desolation of Smog actually takes place. All three movies. Yes. All three of the Hobbit movies are just this.
Yes. So the Desolation of Smog, that whole story, what is that? So that's what is it? 1,200 years between the fall of Sauron and the Desolation of when Smog is defeated. Is that not 1,200 years? Something like that.
I don't remember.
I think it might be. I think it's something like that because then when Bilbo gets the ring, comparatively speaking, we go into like hyperdrive at that point.
I know, right? Like a couple hundred years, all this stuff starts going down.
Like, they love putting their own characters in other Oh yeah, of course. Yes, we need to make this trend. We need to make that trend that night. I hope we should I know you're a nerds. You're a member of Nerd. You need to get that tell X-Ray Girl that to tell him that we need to get that trending that night. I feel like that
Tugs, tell X-Ray Girl.
Can you please just text her?
Be like, hey, when the Rings of Power comes out, we need this hashtag to start trending. Tell Gary to get on it.
Please tell Gary. Or I can tell Mrs. Nerderotic. I've talked to her on Instagram. I'm like, can you please
I have too periodically.
So when they were moving, I was like, I just sent her I hope you guys are doing well. And she's like, if Gary does not get any tacos, I was like, girl, you better tell us, and he's gonna have a bunch of angry people in his next chat. And she's just like, LOL. I recently rediscovered my Rankin Bass Hobbit soundtrack. Oh, dude, that's awesome! That is so cool. I need to watch those. Salty's been after me to watch those. I really need to watch those. So, anyways, so Mando, where would we like to dive into the Númenóreans? Not that we kind of haven't already, but
I would like to kind of. During this time, the Rings of Power were being forged. I think that's also where we need to kind of go into, because before the Númenóreans started on their downfall, hardcore, because it was kind of like the slope. It was just like,
yeah.
They were on this super high for thousands of years, and then it was just kind of like,
yeah. And again, I think that's that this obsession with immortality. And you know what's funny? Hold on, before we dive in, going back to, it's funny. I thought it was interesting that, I can't for the life of me remember who's talking to who, but it's one of the Eldar.
Mm-hmm.
One of the Noldor. I can't remember. It's a messenger from Middle Earth, I believe, talking to, I don't know if it's Ar-Pharazôn. Yeah, it's Ar-Pharazôn. And he's like, dude, didn't say that, but he's like, immortality, the Eldar's gift of immortality is wearisome. They have to stay stagnant while they watch the world turn gray.
Mm-hmm.
They're weary. They grow weary of waiting for something to happen. Yes, they have bliss, and they make things and they create things, and no, they will go to the house of waiting essentially in Valinor when they do die, if they should. But it's don't think that immortality is some sort of gift. That they have a hard time with this, and that they, when they go to Valinor, it's because they're weary of hardship and strife, and it just literally never ending. So I thought that was interesting that they're like, your death, you're like death that we don't the Valinor doesn't know where you guys go and what happens to you and what will happen to you after the ending of the world. That's supposed to literally be a gift, that you guys do not have to suffer this unending weariness that the Eldar do. So I thought that was interesting, and that's what made Ar-Pharazôn lose his mind. So I just thought that was an interesting it's an interesting conversation because it's like, oh, immortality, but then when you're like, the elves are like, Elrond is just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired. It's like, oh,
Well,
that's why.
because he had seen so much.
Yeah, he'd been through
And then
hell.
Galadriel,
Ugh.
my God, Galadriel saw from everything to beginning to end, more or less.
Yep.
Like,
she's that old. She's older than the moon and the sun. Like, I just can't even
literally.
She's been through everything. So,
and they're about to butcher her character. Well, like when we get to the appendices, there's a scene with Aragorn and Galadriel that I want to like bring up that was like just so amazing and cute and just shows how awesome Galadriel is. Anyway,
okay.
While we're touching on Galadriel, remind me later on that I want to touch on this.
Chat, please help me remind her. Okay, so sorry, dear. Continue. Where did you want to?
Trying to go. So let's start off like when Morgoth let's dive into Sauron's backstory a little bit because he's going to be fabulous in this new Rings of Power and he's going to be so flaming gay.
He will, guys. I'm just telling you now. This is where the LGBT crap is going to come in. Not that it is. It is. Remind you of what? You get a pass.
No worries, A2.
Guys, just hold on to your butts, because it's coming. It's coming, and it's gonna be Sauron. I swear to God, he's gonna sleep with everyone.
Okay, let us see. I had it. Where did my spot go? Okay, well, while I'm looking for my spot, I shall continue to look at the spot that I was trying to look for. So basically, when Morgoth fell, Sauron was actually seriously considering apologizing and being repenting. Like, hey, yeah, repenting. He was like, Morgoth was bad. I'm weak. Maybe I'll go to the Valar and prostrate myself at their mercy. What's up, GT?
Thank you so much, GT. Yeah, you guys have a wonderful Easter as well. Good. Oh, hey. Good. A2. That makes me happy.
Yes.
Yes, Cajun, count on it. Yes, we are.
Lots of it.
Lots of it.
So yeah, so Sauron was like, he was
so afraid of the strength of the Valar. I think that he was shocked at just how mighty they were.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he thought of going back to taking the Valinor's offer of going back and repenting, but he was afraid of what punishment he would be facing.
Right, so he went back and hid.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I was reading chat. So instead, like, I guess he had a change of heart again when he was just kind of hiding out. Because okay, I see where because I didn't highlight the whole sentence. I highlighted Sauron's name like a dum-dum. Basically, Sauron went back and hid and started trying to gather his power, gather Melkor's strength as much as possible because like most of the Balrogs were defeated. A couple of them hid, as we find out later on, at Khazak Doom. Anyway, and so he's just trying to Sauron's just like, okay, I got to figure out a way to gather my strength. I've got to start, retaking over Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of being a little harsh on some of the elves in Middle Earth. They did try and kind of keep Sauron at bay in their little pockets.
Yes.
They did nothing to prevent. They just were like, we're going to defend our little pockets. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, yeah, no worries, bro. Don't worry. We appreciate you lurking.
Yes.
Well, and sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm trying to like
Yeah,
figure
I
out
am
my
too.
notes.
It's funny. So Sauron is gathering his strength, right? And he's forging rings. Again, we haven't gotten to the wider histories, all 13 histories. So give us time, we'll get there. But it's interesting that for the rings of power being such a prominent part of this lore, of this mythos, they're hardly mentioned. It's like, what, we got a page? Got a page of text about don't get squished. Don't squish. We get a page of text about the rings of power. This whole thing is really about Numenor, and that's what Tolkien was focusing on, is that how Sauron corrupted Numenor and how this place of beauty and art and culture and wisdom and all the things fell into decay because they forgot who was master, and they forgot who they belonged to, which is Iluvatar, and they became greedy and all this stuff. But so far as the rings of power are concerned, I mean, I was shocked. I couldn't believe how little information we got about it.
Well, also, Sauron didn't actually really do much in the fall of the Numenorians. The Numenorians were already fallen, and he just
poked
they were
it.
They were like close to the edge, and they're like looking over, and Sauron's just like,
yeah, he just came up behind him and just like gave him a little shove. That's all he did. It didn't take much, but he helped the process along. I hate this chair. It always creaks every time I move. So I apologize about that, people. This is the only chair I could afford. He did. I mean, the Numenorians, they brought about their own downfall, and they made a storm of their own making. But I mean, Ar-Pharazôn had a choice, and he chose to listen to Sauron when all the bad stuff started happening.
So also before this, like there was a little bit of war between Sauron and the Elves of Ariador, which basically those were the elves that were on the border of where he was staying, and so those elves really had no choice but to defend there. But the whole time he knew that for thousands of years, Sauron was just sitting in his little hole, hearing how amazing and glorious the Numenorians were, and he's just like, I don't like them.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I got distracted for a minute.
And like a little bit further down, so while Sauron, like, because if you guys know any of the rings of power, basically Sauron deceived one of the craftsmen of the elves into helping like make these rings of power. That's what he was doing. Like while the race of men were going and becoming cavemen, the elves were just sitting in their trees, just hanging out.
Elrond's like, I'm done. Hate everyone. Gil-galad's like, yeah, I hear you. No, I'm good. A2, you have a wrench now. I'm sorry, dear. I didn't see your message, but you have a wrench now. So yeah, if you want to drop stuff, please.
Yes, please.
Drop anything you want.
All of it.
All of
it. But yeah, basically, and so like where it talks about, I think also I think where I was getting confused sometimes with Silmarillion is sometimes it skips ahead and then it jumps back, and it skips ahead and it jumps back a little bit, because it talks about like the elves being at war in Ariador. The elves were only at war when they realized Sauron, like what he was doing.
And Elrond and Círdan were pretty much the only two who were like, yeah, there's something iffy about this dude. And also, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. You've been lurking. You can drop links too. You may drop any all of you like. You go and copy them. Okay, well then never mind. I'll show you later.
Copy and paste is your friend.
Okay, in the description, like Steph, in the description, if you hit the down box, I've got all of our links. So if you just want to cut and paste those and just drop those, you can. But you don't have to. Like, most everyone knows who's here, follows us. I mean, do what you will, lady. It's okay. So Círdan and Celebrimborn is the best. I can't remember. I don't think he's mentioned in here. Okay. Oh my, could it be the gay scene? Yes. I'm putting money on that. I'm gonna put money on it. Yes.
Hello, dear. It's just time for us to make rings.
Fuck.
Y'all, I need to be the director of this. I'm making a parody.
Honey, you don't need to do anything. You rest, okay? We could make it a parody. A parody Lord of the Rings would be less insulting than this crap.
I know, because you know it's a parody. You know it's supposed to be a joke
and insulting and all the things. But yes, no, like, I don't even want to think because
he seduces him.
The way that Sauron, and again, this is it has to be the Second Age because it wasn't at the. So the way that Sauron kills Celebrimborn, it's quite personal. It's quite graphic.
And that's why there's a war.
So the way he kills, spoiler alert, the way he kills Celebrimbor, we're jumping ahead, but just so you know, he captures Celebrimborn because Celebrimborn made the 3 rings for the elves, and he can't control them. He wants to know where they are. He wants to know who has them. Celebrimborn won't spill the beans. And so he kills him, and Sauron puts his naked body on a pike and uses it as his war banner, which is terribly, to me, that's a very intimate, personal gesture. And he was waving his body around in front of Elrond during one of the battles. I can't remember which one. So yes, and the thing is also, you have to keep in mind, again, I know we're going back and forth a little bit, but Sauron has the ability to shapeshift, and he is very fair of face and body. He makes himself look like the Eldar, so he can shapeshift. I know.
Oh no. No. I have other images coming to my head.
No. I do too now.
This is not good. Oh my.
Anyways, all right. Let's ignore the inevitable for a little bit. So anyways, the Rings of Power are hardly mentioned in here, which I just find shocking.
Absolutely, because they have so much to play. So much is happening.
So much is happening.
I can't even focus. Anyway, so while the Rings of Power are being forged and Sauron is having his fling with Celebrimbor, the men are just regressing into animals, just running around. And hobbits are possibly just springing. Oh, God. Basically that's
that is accurate. That's that's one of those explain a plot badly. That's it. That's exactly what's happening in we're losing viewers. Okay. People are like, okay, they're getting weird.
But trying to rein my own brain back in. So basically, the elves in Middle-earth that stayed in Middle-earth were more or less just trying to just stick to themselves and not do much, not interact. They wanted to what's up, Brooke Disney? They wanted to try and not literally, but in essence recreate. Oh my gosh, what's it? What's the place the place that was closed off from people?
Oh, Valinor?
No, the other one with the elves with the Oh
Oh,
my god.
Doriath.
No. Or was it
No?
that?
I don't know what you're talking. Wait, give me context. I don't know what you're talking about.
So, Luthien's dad
Yeah,
was king of.
Doriath. Am I wrong? Hold on, let me look. Okay, hold on. You know, we have this thing called an index that we have not been utilizing. Where's Thingol?
Yeah, my brain kind of got scrambled up a little bit. Sorry, guys.
King of Doriath, yeah.
No, Gondolin is what I'm talking about. Fall of Gondolin.
Okay, so that's okay. I know what you're talking about.
The place that was completely separated from everything else.
In the mountains, yes, the City of Stone. Yes, they were trying to recreate Gondolin.
Yes, in essence, not literally, but the idea of just kind of a hidden elven settlement. A lot of the elves were basically trying to do that. Is just kind of stick to themselves. Men are bad. Sauron is bad. We're just gonna try and stick to our people and do our thing, and yeah. And so the poor men of Middle Earth, like, you gotta feel sorry for them. Like, they had nobody. Like, from the time that mankind set foot on Middle Earth, they basically had to fend for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry, they did draw the short stick in a lot of ways, because when the elves woke up, the Valar were there, they were waiting for them, and when the men were there, like, who cares?
Oh wait. Oh, that's right. I think the men are gonna be. When are the men? What's going on? And they're like, who are you?
Yeah. If the elves hadn't found them, I don't know what would have happened.
Well, by that time, like, Melkor had already, like, by the time the elves discovered mankind, Melkor was already working, like, weaving his web of stuff, like, within mankind. And so, like, one of the sad things that the elves like to say is mankind is more prone to falling to evil.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why?
Yeah.
The beginning of their lives was, at the mercy of Melkor, the most evil Dark Lord of all of Middle Earth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when that's kind of in their DNA, it's just one of those things. Like, they got the short end of the stick, man.
They really did.
And then by the Third Age, the Valar is like, we realize that we have done bad by meddling in the affairs of Middle Earth, so we're just going to leave it completely alone.
Yeah, no touchy.
But you guys are the one that created the problem.
I know. For real, though. If they'd been... Yeah. Anyways. Just, I'm not going to go there. So, yeah, I mean, and I guess, and you can see it, the way that Numenor declines. It's just, you can see how men... They make storms of their own, troubles. It's not like, Sauron and Melkor planted the seeds, but they didn't have to fall into debauchery and human sacrifice.
Yeah. And, like, one of the things it does mentions about the Rings of Power is 3 of the ring wraiths are Numenorian kings.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, before Sauron was taken, I imagine Ar-Pharazôn's probably one of those ring wraiths, just in my own headcanon.
I could see that.
So, like, I wonder which kings it was, because, like, not every single king of Numenor was I think named, if I remember correctly. So, like, for thousands of years, like, Sauron had the opportunity of, like, spreading the rings among, kings of mortal men, and, like, somehow 3 of the Numenorians got these rings. Like,
yeah,
I wonder,
actually,
how did that happen?
That actually is that. You know what? That is interesting, and that's an interesting, because Ar-Pharazôn went to Middle Earth. So also what started happening, rather than teaching the men of Middle Earth to, like, be good stewards of the earth and just not be wild men and cavemen anymore, they started demanding tribute from the men of Middle Earth. So they went in the opposite direction and that like the men of Middle Earth thought of them as gods, and they're like, okay, yeah, please stroke our plumage, stroke our ego. So they started accepting tribute and like fealty from these men. But he knew that Ar-Pharazôn was smart enough to know that Sauron was a threat, and demanded that he go live in Numenor as like basically a self hostage. He's like, you're like the Balrogs and all your evil spirits and all this stuff will behave if you're basically our hostage. And Sauron agreed. So you know what? I wonder if maybe he took 3 rings with him. But it says they were kings of Numenor. So do you think? I mean, it's possible.
Well, it says great lords.
Okay, so I wonder. I bet you he took those rings with him, and while he was like subtly, pushing them ever closer to that edge of that cliff that they were running towards, I wonder if he handed them out because he was called the gift giver. He was the giver of gifts. That's what Celebrimbor and Círdan knew him as.
Yeah, the Lord of Gifts.
I bet you anything. I would be willing to bet that. Well, but Ar-Pharazôn was in Valinor.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of his council. Yes, Nick, he was Santa. A lot of like Ar-Pharazôn's council was also corrupted. So like, I wonder if it because how long was I don't remember how long Sauron was with Ar-Pharazôn. I imagine for a few hundred years at least.
I'd have to be. I would say at least 150 at the shortest. So
like I wonder, since he was able to give 3 rings of power to some Numenorians, like was it members of Ar-Pharazôn's council that he gave? But then who's the Witch King? No, that's a different person.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're trying to get into ring wraith lore.
Probably will help if we read the histories, but yeah, I mean, I think that is a conundrum. And again, if Amazon were smart, that is an area where there's not a whole lot of info. They could go in because we know enough about the ring wraiths from the books, which they do have access to understand how the ring wraiths were created. They could show the corruption and the slow decline of man. If you have an issue with the fact that Numenorians are white, okay, cool. Show their downfall, show their corruption, show their slide into from good to bad. That's what I'm trying to say. But no, we don't have to have strong wham and power. That's the only thing we care about.
Not a high fantasy person. It's okay. We're lost too sometimes.
It's okay. We're hot. I know, Nick. I know. It's okay, Rogue. Like, I understand high fantasy is an acquired taste. You have to really love high fantasy and to get to like as deeply as we are. We just appreciate you being here. We thank you for that.
Yes, very much.
Sorry, go ahead.
So no, you're good. Basically, so kind of in a nutshell, like Sauron gets there, somehow gets these 3 Numenorian lords rings. They become ring wraiths eventually. We don't know anything about that.
They have to be the Isildur. They have to be on one of these 9 ships because everybody else was in either Numenor was destroyed unless they lived, because when their lives diminished so much that when Numenor was swept under the sea, their spirit survived like Sauron's did. That's the only way I could
bet. Yeah, if they were wearing the rings, I bet that's how it's happened. See, guys, we're doing more work than Amazon.
I'm proud of us.
I know, right? We should be the ones writing this thing, not Amazon. Good Lord. And it'd be funny, it'd be romantic, it'd be epic and jam-packed with violence. Anyway.
All the things.
Yes, all the things. And so basically, Gil-galad and Elendil, it was Elendil. No?
What are you looking for?
I'm trying to like jump ahead a little bit into when our Farazan's starting to want to like invade Valinor.
Oh
And like
yeah.
kind of that whole thing. Or actually, let's talk about how he took his wife against her will.
She's gonna be the
And
strong woman.
but also, guess what relation she was to him before she was his wife?
She's his first cousin. And the
Yeah.
Numenorean laws did not allow for that level of close kinship in marriage. But so here's the thing, and here's what Mando and I were talking about before the stream. So the Numenoreans set up that if this king only had one child, and it seems like most of them had at least 2 or 3. That seemed to kind of sort of be the norm. They only had the one child, and it was a girl. She could succeed. She could take the scepter, which is the symbol of rule. So it was both ways. It didn't have to be a son. A woman could succeed to the throne and take a husband. As long as they had a child, the line was unbroken. They considered the line to be unbroken. It didn't have to be through the boy. What was her name?
Miriel.
Miriel was the daughter of the king. Ar-Pharazôn was her cousin, her first cousin. He was, it sounds like Pharazôn came out black of heart. He just was one of those people that just came out corrupted for whatever reason. He desired to be king and took her against her will, changed her name, changed his name, and he became the ruling king of Numenor. So it's funny that Amazon is like, let's have strong women, and like I'm like, Tolkien already gave you some. Tone it down a bit. Tolkien beat you to the punch. You're not being original in making strong women because Tolkien's already done it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, so one of the things though that kind of so Ar-Pharazôn did that. So yeah, he was already a pretty bad dude. And then he's like, I want to take over all of the things and I'm going to defeat Sauron. So he goes after Sauron. And Sauron's like, take me with you.
Exactly. Can I just come home with you?
Just let me come with you. Which, I'm sorry. If I was like, even if I was like an evil person and I go to somebody to try and take them over and they're like, please take me with you. I would think twice about that. I'm like, he wants to come into my house. He wants me to take over. He wants me to do this. I'd be like, exactly. No.
You want to come live with me? Why?
You can stay here and I will kill you.
Exactly.
Which is like,
yeah. But yeah, just Ar-Pharazôn just seems dumb. But like the whole, as we said, Sauron didn't have to do much to push them over the edge, the Numenoreans over the edge. But when he started saying that, like, actually Manwë is the bad guy and Melkor is who you should be revering, is who you should be worshiping, is actually he's in charge. And Ilúvatar, nah, he's nobody. It's Melkor, who they call Morgoth, who's the real person in charge, and he was wrongly defeated and all this stuff. It's interesting what that part told me. Sauron's a weasel. Like, this guy's got no backbone whatsoever. Yeah, he's smart and he created a lot of darkness. And yes, I don't deny that he's evil, but he wanted his master back. He's not like, you know what, Morgoth's gone, I can take over. He's like, I want my lord back. This guy is a sneaky, spineless weasel because he had to slither his way into, everyone's confidants, whereas Melkor just came bursting through. I guess in Valinor, he went out of his way to corrupt the Eldar, like Fëanor and his whole line. But Sauron is just like a whole other level of just a snake in the grass. You know what
Melkor is kind of like a bull in a china closet.
Yes.
In comparison.
And Sauron will slither through the weeds and bite you on the ankle.
Basically.
Because it's like, why would you want your master back if you're in charge now? And he's like, no, I want Melkor back. Like, Okay.
Right. Yeah, and they literally started like doing human sacrifices to Melkor.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it was a couple thousand years after he had fallen, but like,
Yeah.
the whole point of you getting this cool island was because you helped defeat him. Do you guys not know your history?
And it's funny, it's like also that men have short memories.
Yeah.
So, and something else they started doing, I'm going to share this terrible picture. If anyone else has a better screenshot of this, would you please send it to me? Come on. I don't want all my tabs in there. I don't know how to make that go away. This mountain in the back, which I can't for the life of me remember what it's called. It's something that starts with a C. Every mountain starts with a C, it seems like. This mountain in the back is where they would go worship Iluvatar. Like there was a holy place up here. And they would go, I don't know if they like made offerings, but they would like basically like honor what Iluvatar had done for them, raising this island out of the sea to be this place, the place of the gift, like the place of the star, like we were saying. And when Sauron came and lived among the Númenóreans, they stopped going here. Well, not all of them, but most of them, like the kings, didn't go here anymore to worship. So and that's also why we had the breaking of the world.
I wonder how they're going to portray that. What time period do you think they're going to cover? All of it? Or the downfall?
Hold on.
Because I don't remember.
I don't see how they could cover all of it. I mean, maybe? Because
and just as a side note, guys, while she's looking that up, that top of the mountain, in the Silmarillion page 337, it talks about like when the exiles, so the people who were loyal to Iluvatar, who were able to escape the downfall of Númenor, they believe that the top of that mountain actually is still there, like into the Third Age, like the point where they were very like the holy mountain of Iluvatar still stands in the middle of the sea, is what many Númenóreans believe when Númenor fell, is that like there's a little island in the middle of that whole area, and it's where it's the top of that mountain essentially.
Okay,
so cool little tidbit.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. So okay, so what we have is, okay, so the reward for their suffering caused against Morgoth, the Valar, and the Guardians of the World, granted to the Edain, the men, to a land to dwell in, removed from the dangers of Middle-earth, which is Númenor. Most of them therefore set sail in the sea, guided by the star of Arendil, which is Elrond's father, which has the Silmarillion and the ship in the sky, came to the Isle of Elena, the westernmost of all mortal lands. So there was founded the realm of Númenor. So we have two paragraphs kind of sort of setting out what Númenor is and what it was called. Elros was the first king of the Númenors. The second bit of this is the genealogy. So this is all the kings and queens. So then the next page, the sixth king left an only child, a daughter. She became the first queen, for it was then made law of the royal house that the eldest child of the king, whether man or woman, should receive the scepter. There you go, Amazon. So this whole page is about the fall of Númenor and about the sinking of their so it's the 11th king. So if we're going off of what they have access to, again, in all of this, there are references to the Second Age. They're very, as far as I remember, they're very small and not very in depth. They're, again, songs, it's snippets. It's like, oh, here's this tower that this person built, and it was a mighty watchtower in the Second Age. Like, that's literally all we have. This is about the fall. So I would assume that might be where they're starting. His name is his name is Tar Minister, something like that. So that's the 11th king. So I don't know how far apart he and Ar-Pharazôn are. But
I think there was at least 20 to 40 kings. I
okay,
made a reference to it somewhere.
so the 11th king is where the decay of Numenor begins, and it ends with Ar-Pharazôn. Ar-Pharazôn is who brings about the destruction of Numenor and the changing of the world. So I feel like Amazon only read snippets of the story, and some in turn read Morgoth was actually good guy. I did that again. Oh, Zax, you hurt my heart. Yes, that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurt. But you're probably right. Is there a so anyways, I bet you that's where they're probably gonna start. Because they've got, I mean, the first episode is 3 freaking hours long. Oh, it's gonna be the longest 3 hours of my life.
So you're gonna chug through it?
I don't know. I think Zax and Salty and Max and a couple others are. I suggested we do a watch party.
Yes.
We stream it all together because I don't want to break my computer.
Because like I was asked to do a review on the Rings of Power.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it was requested by someone that I watched the Ring. I basically turn into Az and lose my mind live on camera.
Yes, that's probably what I'll be doing. But so far as the first episode, I would love to do a watch party because my TV's back here, and also I don't want to break anything. I would like some accountability.
I can't find where it says how many kings of Numenor. Like before we talked about it, I remember. Oh, I was like, hey, yeah, make mental note that this is where this is.
You know what? As Lady Marine said, there's a thing called Google. Let me just Google it.
But my highlights are so cute. Trying to think. And so like I think I remember here seeing 20 he was the 24th. So like if you like for those of you who are math whizzes, there's like 24 kings or so, and each king lives over 100 years, and there's like over 2,000 years worth of like history going on there. Like
25.
How long did these 25 kings.
So
how long did these kings live, man? Yeah. Like 2,000 years.
Okay, Zax, hit me up. I want to do a watch party. If we all want to do like one big watch party, I am down.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh. Yeah, they lived. Okay, so I can't do math.
We don't have to do that kind of math.
I don't want to do that kind of math. If you just go to the King of Numenor on Wiki, on it has the timeline, but don't ask me to do math. I can't. Done and done. Okay, hooray, Matt. Hooray, Zax.
And so basically, towards the end, Sauron convinces Ar-Pharazôn. He's like, "Hey, Melkor's this amazing dude. Why don't you go to the Valar's location where you're not supposed to go and take it over?"
And again, this was not hard to convince them because the Númenóreans have been wanting to go to Valinor for quite some time now. Again, the decay started with the 11th king, and we got to get up to the 20. What did I just say?
25.
25. All he had to do was just breathe the suggestion. He didn't have to sit around and like convince them for weeks on end or months on end or even years on end. He just was like, "Hey, you should go to Valinor." And they're like, "Okay.
Done.
We'll get our ships." And literally it's the biggest sea force Middle-earth had ever seen. That's how big the force was.
Because the Númenóreans were seafaring people. Like they loved to sail. Yeah. And that was, I think, part of the fault was they wanted to, like, because of the fact they sailed everywhere, they wanted to sail west because we're sailors. We want to sail places. Mm-hmm. So it started out as, I feel like it started out as like a harmless, like, man, if only.
Yeah. It's like a desire, because also there's that one elven island, which the name I'm blanking on, but it's like Avalon? It's an in-between. Yeah, sure.
Avalone.
Avalone, thank you. It's like an in-between place. It's not Valinor, but it's not Middle Earth. But the elves dwell there, and I feel like it's the elves who were still kind of reeling from the oath of Fëanor, and like they had betrayed the Valinor were like, it's like a purgatory. I don't know, that's kind of how I pictured it. It's like a purgatory that they hang out there. And it's a blessed place. It's an undying place. And that was as far as the Númenóreans were allowed to go. They could go to that island. But because they started, like, the elves started getting wind of, like, the fact that they wanted to go all the way to Valinor, the Valinor caused, and I think it was Ulmo, caused a great cloud of fog to veil the island from Númenor's sight, so they couldn't find it anymore. So the Valinor were trying to save the Númenóreans from their own folly. Did not work.
Yeah, because they could see the top. Like, apparently the fog didn't go quite high enough, and they could see like a little bit of something.
Like, tower that they had built. So yeah, it didn't take much for Sauron to corrupt Númenor into convincing them to go to Valinor and make war on the Valar themselves and free Morgoth. But little did they know that Morgoth is actually being held in the abyss. Like, if you harken back to the beginning of the song, that like Ilúvatar and the other Maiar and Valar are outside of the world. Like, they're in space. I mean, our mind can only comprehend so much. Like, they're in outer space. So Melkor is being held in the Great Void. Like, we don't know where he is. He's like in this kind of ethereal, esoteric prison. So he's not even on Arda anymore. So Sauron is just making fire where there is none. You know what I mean?
Basically. And also, like, to throw more shade on the Noldor, it was the Noldorian elves who welcomed Sauron into their place.
Yep.
This is all basically you can sum up the entire Lord of the Rings series on the Noldor are dumb.
Yeah, they are. I love them, but they're really dumb.
Like, the Noldor caused so much bad stuff to happen.
Yeah, they do. Poor things.
Because without, like, Celebrimbor, like, the Rings of Power wouldn't have been forged. Guess which elven line he comes from? The Noldor.
And Gil-galad. Gil-galad's a good guy, although he did kind of sit on his ass. But, I mean, yeah. And so did Elrond. My favorite dude. Yep. My Elrond.
Yep. It's kind of like the big thing of, like, Lord of the Rings is there are a lot of really amazing people who do dumb things.
Yeah.
And lots of dumb things.
Which, I mean, welcome to the human condition. I mean, how many of us do stupid things? And again, it's like the brilliance of Tolkien. It's like, you know, because for all that, you know, you guys asked me who my favorite character is, and it will always and forever be Elrond. Elrond will always be my favorite character. No one's ever going to take his place in my heart. But, like, during the War of the Ring, he's like, I'm done. I don't want anything else to do with this. No, I'm not helping. Like, you know, I actually kind of think that scene that Peter Jackson and Philippa Boyens and all them came up with in Return of the King, when they changed Aragorn's character arc for reasons. So therefore that necessitated they slightly changed Arwen's and Elrond's. But, like, they both, like, Elrond and Aragorn got kind of a redeeming moment when Elrond shows up at Dunharrow with the
Shards of Narsil.
Yep. Anduril, whatever. That Elrond is like, okay, I haven't given up hope. I'm doing this for shut up, Zach.
I mean,
don't judge me.
If you have to have a crush on someone, have a crush on Elrond. Which, the stuff that happened to his wife as well, like,
I know. The fact that he, like, loved her so deeply, oh, it makes my heart hurt. Anyways, yeah, I love that scene in Return of the King, even though it's so inaccurate to the books about their relationship. I just love that Elrond is like, get your act together. I'm tired of this. Defeat this. I want to leave, even though you're going to take my daughter.
I want to go home.
I want to see my wife.
Because, yeah, his wife, like, sailed away because she
Thousands of years ago.
Yeah, like, she basically sailed away from a broken heart.
Yeah, like I always find this, it's just so heartbreaking. We're so going down a rabbit trail, and I apologize. This is my fault. But it's just so heartbreaking that Elrond, because Elrond's the greatest healer in Middle Earth. First of all, her sons found her. Elrohir and Eladine found their mother tortured. Get out of here, Star Wars. No, you're never going to have anything on the twins finding their mother being tortured by the orcs. Ever. The fact that her sons had to rescue her and then carrying their mother's broken body back to their father, I just can't even fathom. I can't. And then to know that, like, you can't heal your wife's heart. That's just heartbreaking. And the fact that he remains so loyal to her. Sorry, my headcanon is that, like, just Elrond was just, like, waiting to see his wife, and that was a very hard reunion, because she's like, where are my kids? And he's like, well, your sons are with your father. They didn't get their butts on the boat, and your daughter's gonna die, and you won't ever see your grandkids. Sorry. I can't imagine that was not a hard reunion. That, like, her grandfather, all three of her father, all three of her kids are not there when they get off the boat. And Círdan is like, I don't know what to tell you. I didn't leave a boat. My head canon, that scene just hurts.
Well, I feel like, and the movies, I feel like, kind of did do Elrond's character justice, but not as much as they could have. Like,
yeah, I agree.
The weariness.
Yes.
I imagine he had gone through. Like,
he's watched almost everybody he loves dies.
Basically. Everyone. And basically, like, Aragorn's, like, line, like, he basically raised Aragorn. Mm-hmm. Like, because Aragorn's father and grandfather died young, and his mother's like, I'm gonna go to Elrond's house because we're all gonna die if we don't. And so, like, Elrond, like, I mean, that's his brother's family. Like, mm-hmm. He's basically raising, like, a nephew.
Yeah. Couple thousand years removed, but yes. It's essentially what he's doing.
Couple thousand years. Yeah, because then if you take that another step further, it's like cousins. Nope.
Well, they're so far removed. It's like, it's not gross.
Right.
In any case, I'm sorry. I did not mean for us to go down that rabbit trail. I apologize. We are getting way off topic.
It's fine. So I guess the next part we can go into is the exile. Like, so after Ar-Pharazôn is just like, I'm going to try and take on the Valar.
Yeah.
Causes the end of the world as they know it.
So Iluvatar makes such a
world round.
Earthquake. It makes the world round. And like half of those, I'm sorry, I should have had that map ready that we've been using. All those lands that we've seen in like the first age, the second age, they all disappear. Numenor goes under the sea. Again, it's Atlantis. And the world is utterly changed. And that's why there's this beautiful picture. I think it's by Ted Nesbitt, who's one of the official illustrators of Lord of the Rings. There's that scene of one of the elven ships sailing off. So the world is round. It sails off the edge of the earth and goes straight, and it sails in between the sun and the moon, and like in between a golden gate. That's where Valinor is. So it's called the Straight Way, and nobody can find it but the elves, because they're allowed to go to the Undying Lands, whereas men are not.
I'm sharing the map if you want to.
Oh, thank you.
So first age. Second age, here's Numenor, Beleriand over here. And then that goes into that. And this is the spot where they think the little bit of remnants of Numenor are. That itty bitty little speck of a bean.
Mm-hmm.
And here's everything else. There's Mordor, Gondor, like, yeah, from just in one age, guys. Like, all of this goes to basically this patch of land.
Yep. So Ar-Pharazôn, like, that's how pissed off Iluvatar was. He's like, I am so done with these, just all of them. The Valar, they were all done with men. So that's when the world changed utterly. And we have some people in Numenor who remained faithful to Iluvatar. They remained faithful to the Eldar, that they didn't fall into this horrible corruption, this debauchery, these evil ways that the rest of the Numenorians did. And all of Numenor swept under the waves. Everything was lost, except for a few items. So go ahead, please continue.
So some of the items that were brought over, some of you will recognize, if maybe not, because they were by a different name. So the 7 stones and the white tree sapling are kind of the bigger items, and of course the ring of better here, the scepter, and all that stuff. But the 7 stones are what we know later on as the Palantir. Am I saying that right? Palantir. The Seeing Stones. And basically those were, like, items that came from Numenor, which I didn't realize a lot of people didn't know, that they had come from Numenor. And so, like, they were placed in Minas Ithil, Minas Tirith, Minas something or other, Minas other, and other Minas and other, all of the Minas towers.
One was placed on Weathertop.
Yes.
Emansul, right?
Yes.
Emansul. So one was there. That's why Aragorn has, like, this kind of visceral reaction to seeing Weathertop, is because this used to be a great stronghold of the Numenorians.
Mm-hmm. And Isengard, when we see in the movie, he looks at it like that's supposed to be his property. Like, he's like, "What's up, dude? I'm gonna take this all back. You are talking through my thing." Mm-hmm. So that was some of the treasures that were brought back, and more or less the Numenorians, the exiles, kind of branch out, and they start making these towers, these strongholds, these things against Sauron, because they know he's gonna come back. They don't know how, but he's gonna come back. And so they're trying to make these strongholds, and Isildur and his father and his brother, like, do a lot of really cool things and build up a lot of strongholds, founded Gondor and Arnor, become friends with Elrond's household, and then Elendil, which is Isildur's father, and Gil-galad talked about, hey, Sauron is going to start getting stronger. We need to form this last alliance. Mm-hmm. And so, like, Elendil, Isildur, and I always forget Isildur's brother's name.
Oh, can't remember either.
Yeah, but basically, my thought was, I know in the movies and a lot of the books, Isildur kind of gets this bad rap because he fell. Yeah. But guys, he did so much good for the Numenorians and Middle-earth. If it was not for Isildur, a lot of the items that we see, like the stones, we wouldn't have the Tree of Gondor if it was not for Isildur. Mm-hmm. Like,
because here's the thing, this damn tree. One of the things that Sauron convinced Ar-Pharazôn to do was cut down that tree and burn it, because it was a remnant of the goodness that is the Valinor.
And so it's a remnant of one of the 2 trees. Like, you remember early on, and before the first stage of Middle-earth, there was the 2 trees that gave light, and then the remnants of that became the moon and the sun, but some of the seed also like had these the little white seedling that looked like the white tree of the first age.
Mm-hmm.
Before the first age.
So if it had not been for Isildur, because it was set under heavy guard by Sauron's folk, whatever that means, Isildur snuck in there and took a fruit from the tree. It was the last fruit that tree ever produced, like the day before it got cut down. So if it hadn't been for Isildur, again, it's this idea of power corrupts, like that hearts are corruptible. And again, it's just not men. I mean, we've seen it with the elves more than once. But Isildur did a lot of good. I mean, he listened to his father. He's like, I will wait for you on the ships. Like he rallied his people. He got them into the ships and off Numenor before it fell. Like he was a good man, and I do think that he does get a slightly bad rap.
Mm-hmm. And like, because I know in the movies, Aragorn, which I don't remember this a lot as much in the books, like Aragorn's like, well, you know, I have Isildur's blood, I have Isildur's curse, and it's just like
that was fully Philippa Boyens and Peter Jackson. That is one of the most inaccurate things about Aragorn. So Narsil was reforged the night before the Fellowship left Rivendell. He had Anduril the whole time. So that very much, and it was this idea of like kind of being the reluctant hero. I think they were just trying to, again, kind of complicate Aragorn's story, which I get, but also it's like Aragorn knew that his doom was upon him the minute the ring entered Rivendell, and he knew he was going to be king. This kind of waffling thing, I understand why they did it, but that was not in the book.
Right, because basically, like, he was told by Elrond, you are in line to be king. Yeah. You are king. Yeah. Act like a king.
And if you want my daughter, you will be a king. Like, that was the only that was his stipulation. He was like, you know, and I feel like the movies did that pretty well. It's like, you will not marry my daughter if you don't take up that crown. Like, end of story. It's not negotiable. And no, Arwen has no say in this matter. You will not marry her. Like, she will get her butt on that ship if you don't become king.
Because her lineage is higher than his, and Elrond's just like, she's too good for you, man, and you know it.
He's the ultimate dad.
But also, she has God in her heritage. Granted, he does too.
Literally, on both sides.
But his is a little bit further down the tree than hers is.
A little bit. Yeah, she's got a lot of God in her, actually. She's like, So anyways, Elrond was like, you will become king. How did we get on this time? Oh, Isildur. So yeah, I mean, I will say I understand why they did it, and I understand why they kind of messed with Faramir's character as well, but it's not accurate.
Right. So basically Isildur and his brother and his dad found the places of the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor, and then they go in and they're like, hey, let's have this last alliance. And of course, that's when we understand the history from the books, you know, and the appendices kind of like go from there too a little bit. It's like a little bit more into detail about like what countries or what kingdoms they founded, and then the history of after Isildur fell, kind of like how it got into ruin, how the Dunedain basically became wild men. This is back when dads did dad stuff.
When dads looked after their daughters. Yes. Much agree. And like, honestly, I have to admit, I kind of checked out for that part. So I was like, wait, who we're talking about at this point? I mean, just again, there's so much time he covers what, a couple 100 years and maybe a couple pages, if that like they branched off and they started fighting, and no, we won't accept that kid as king, but I'm going to be king anyways. And then there's like the sundering of the line. Oh my God, it just keeps going.
And then there was a plague that ended the last king.
Yes.
And then the stewards took over.
Yes. And then the stewards got a wee bit big-headed. And
then Rohan kind of just popped out of nowhere.
There they are.
Basically, it's just like, all of these different people. Oh, the men of Rohan. I'm like,
wait, hold on, back up. Excuse me?
where did they come from?
I
Who
know.
are they?
Who are
Which
they?
Aragorn in the Appendices talks about they are of Bjorn's.
Yes.
They're a mixed blood of Bjorn who, for those of you who know The Hobbit, like Bjorn is the shape-shifting big man, and so like basically the Númenóreans believe that Bjorn's descendants and then some other people kind of mixed and created the Rohirrim.
Yes. So they had so the line of Rohan has no affiliation with the line of Gondor. Those are two
Correct.
separate lines of men. Now, obviously, they do intermarry when. I mean, I'm sure that they intermarried a little bit, but like I don't feel like the first big intermarriage happened until Faramir married Éowyn.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think it was more because they don't really become big players on the scene until the Stewarts become the ones, and then we start hearing about Helm Hammerhand, and the kings of Rohan, and like
the
how they
of
kind
Rohan
of
were heard in Gondor and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's when they start becoming friends. It's like this is after the line of kings has been dead for a while.
Completely. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So like the stewards did kind of a good job for a little while.
For a little while.
C'est la vie.
I know. So yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where were we going with this?
Well, just kind of like going into a little bit of like, I guess, because the appendices really discuss a lot of Third Age things.
They really do.
Which is why I assume the same reason you decided to kind of more or less skim instead of deep dive read, because I felt like I was rereading The Lord of the Rings again.
Yeah, seriously, I mean, Durin Folk is interesting, but I mean, I didn't even make it all the way through again. I've just, my week it's been good. It's just been very, very long and a lot of new challenging things. But like, it's a lot of Third Age stuff, and it's very quick summaries of what happens in the Silmarillion. It's not a whole, I mean, there's tiny itty bitty snippets here and there, but
there's even bits of The Hobbit in there because like Gandalf even all of a sudden starts like we hadn't even introduced to Gandalf very much, and just also, Gandalf's here.
And there's Gandalf. And here's Radagast, and he just talks to birds, and then there's Saruman.
And basically Gandalf's kind of like he starts talking about the dwarves, like when he went on a trip with the dwarves and a hobbit, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is The Hobbit. This is a summary of the Hobbit. Because like during the in the appendices it talks about Durin's folk, and kind of it's basically The Hobbit, because The Hobbit tells you about the history and the line of kings. Like they go back pretty far into Durin's line, at least in my opinion. And
there's one queen that's mentioned.
Yes, there's that one. Oh gosh, I highlighted it because I was.
We get one mention of one queen, so just wait, guys. The strong whammon queen of the dwarves is coming, and I don't know if that's Disa or Dissa or however the hell you say her name. I know Max said it from the panel that he went to at WonderCon, but I don't remember, and I also don't care.
Oh yeah, here's all of the lines of people. Oh gosh. Oh, Durin's folk. Yay, I found it. So basically what kept happening to these poor dwarves is they'd build a city, and then some orcs or a dragon or somebody just be like, hey, we want your stuff.
Yes.
And the dwarves are like, no, you cannot have our things. We're going to kill you because these are our things.
Yes.
And a lot of people assume that the rings of power, because Durin's line also had a ring of power, and they made it seem like the ring not only like enhanced, like, because the dwarves were very hardy people. They did not fall to Sauron's craftiness in the way that he wanted. He wanted them to become kind of like ring wraiths, except for dwarven version. That would look weird. Anyway. And so, like, of course, like, but the rings were evil, so they did have an evil corrupting factor, and it's basically the dwarves only thought about gold and getting more gold and more gold and more gold. And then another theory I wanted to touch on, if I can find this spot where it talks about the one lady dwarf. So, guys, the simple fact that there's several pages of dwarven legend and it only has a paragraph about one lady dwarf should tell you a thing. Now we're starting to get into Hobbit territory on that one. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna paraphrase, guys, because I can't seem to find this. It's in the Appendices A, talking about Durin's folk. Basically, there's this one dwarven queen, and she gets a sentence, and then after that it goes into, and dwarven women were about a third of the population because dwarven women also would get mistaken for dwarven men, and basically the same thing that Gimli said to Aragorn about the dwarven women, and it's just a repeat of that.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Mo? How are you doing?
Hey, Mo.
Because it's all like a lot of the Appendices talks about kind of the fight that the dwarves had with everyone for their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it talks a little bit about Asgog, which the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, I know.
He was already dead for a long time. Before the Hobbit story happened. Like, the whole Battle of Asgard takes up like 2 to 3 pages, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when the whole section of Durin's folk is like only like 10 pages or something, like, that's a lot of the story.
Yeah. Okay, so, but going back to, I can't find it either. I'm trying to, but I can't seem to find anything. But this one queen, didn't you say that that you had remembered she, we're good, Mo, for as much on the struggle bus as we both are, because we're both exhausted. We've done okay. This has been a good show. I hope it's been okay. We've yeah. Anyways, that it was someone from the Third Age.
Yes.
So here's sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, because you have a full complete thought.
Okay, so they've said they're going to compress the timeline, right? That
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get all of this into a much shorter time period, whereas we have said over and over again, before the fall of Numenor, that was like 2,000 years. That was a long time before the 11th king, we started getting the decay. So, but also, they don't have access to this. What's in the appendices is very abbreviated, very brief, very few mentions of people. My thought, and I think that you had mentioned this when we were backstage before we went live, is what they're going to do is take stuff from the Third Age and twist it to be in the Second Age and be like, well, it's in the books technically, but we just, we had to do a little finagling. It's mentioned, but and I bet you anything, if they were to be challenged on like, well, did you draw that character from the Third Age? They would plead ignorance or something. They're going to plead ignorance or something. But I think that, and I, because Mandy, you had said that, and I agree. I bet you anything that they're going to take these itty bitty tiny references.
One little sentence. About there being a dwarven queen that we know nothing about.
Exactly, because what they'll do is they'll be like, okay, so there was a precedent for it in the Third Age.
Right.
Just because it's not mentioned in the Second Age doesn't mean that there can't be queens of the dwarves in the Second Age. So that's what they're going to do. That's how they're going to misconstrue what Tolkien did right and fill in those gray areas. So they're going to be like, well, there's precedent for it in the Third Age, so therefore there has to be some sort of history there for it to be a precedent in the Third Age, for it to be represented in the second, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm talking in circles, but that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do.
Because because we don't really, I mean, granted, just about every single leader, like even like at the end of the appendices, there's like a timeline of the dwarves and their kings and stuff. Maybe that's where I saw it, like family trees or something. And she's the only female that I saw,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
And Disa
So, like,
or Dissa or whatever the hell her name is mentioned.
I found it. Page 397 of this of The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yeah.
Dis was the daughter of Thrain II. She is the only dwarf woman named in these histories. She's the only dwarf woman named in the histories. What does that tell you? There were no other dwarf women named in the histories. And it was said by Gimli, which we read this in The Lord of the Rings. It is said by Gimli that there are few dwarf women, probably no more than a third of the whole people. They seldom walk abroad except at great need. They are in voice and appearance and garb like male dwarfs if they go on a journey. Most people can't tell them apart. So, like, it's basically what we've already read, but I like highlight it. It's literally a sentence. It's one sentence. That's it, guys. Like,
yep.
But I mean, I feel like that she's the only one that would fit for what they're doing with the Black Dwarven Queen. If that's her,
I think that is her. But they're making her the daughter. So they took her name, and I believe they changed it enough, and they're making her the daughter of Durin the Fourth. I think.
But Durin the Fourth already has like someone in his line.
I know. Well, they gave Isildur a sister. I don't think they care.
Right. Never mind. What logic?
How dare you?
I'm just gonna throw my books over here now and just be like, you know what? I'll make up my own stuff.
Right? Just get an archive of our own. Just go write some fan fiction. We do a better job of it.
Oh my god.
So anyways, in these last 15 minutes, you said to remind you, and I'm so proud of myself for remembering that you want to talk about Aragorn and Galadriel's moment.
Oh, I'm gonna try and find that. Yeah.
Was it
Sorry, I literally had it marked, so I'm like reading, looking over it now.
You look, guys. Do you have any questions for us before we wrap things up? Any questions? Thank you so much. I think we've peaked around 14 viewers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And please stick around to the end if you can, because we're gonna wrap up around it's 11:30 my time. So if you can't stick around, because we have an announcement to make about future streams.
Yes.
Did you find it?
So yes, I found it. So it's a little bit of a paragraph. So it came to pass that when Aragorn was 9 and 40 years of age. So I'm assuming 49.
Yes, 49.
I thought it was like this at 940. I was like, wait a second, I'm doing wrong math here. So basically 49 years old, he returned from the perils, and this is after he had talked with Elrond, and Elrond was like, hey, you gotta be king. You gotta act like a king. You gotta do some kingly things. So he was coming back from from the perils and the dark confines of Mordor, where Sauron, dwelt and busy with evil, blah blah. He was weary and he wished to go back to Rivendell and rest for a while before he journeyed some more. On his way, he came to the borders of Lorien. By the way, who Lorien, who lives in Lorien? Galadriel. Yes, you're welcome. I reminded you. And was admitted to the hidden land by Lady Galadriel. He did not know it, but Arwen was also there, dwelling again for a time with the kin of her mother. She was a little change from mortal years, because yes, she's an elf. She does not age. And her face was basically she was depressed. But if you guys want to hear the more elegant, yet her face was more grave, and her laughter now seldom was heard. She was depressed, guys. But Aragorn was grown to full stature of body and mind, and Galadriel bade him cast aside his way-worn, his tattered clothes. She's like, your clothes look a little dirty. Here's some nice ones.
You stink. Go bathe.
And she clothed him in silver and white, and with a cloak of elven gray and a bright gem on his brow. So she's like, "You're gonna be king. I am already kinging you. You're welcome." And then than any kind of men, he appeared and seemed rather than an elf lord from the Isles of the West. I wonder how Galadriel would know what that looks like.
Right?
Oh,
not like she has experience or anything.
And thus it was that Eowyn first beheld him again after their long parting, and he came walking towards her, and she was just like, and her doom approaches. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
You think?
it's just like, laden with flowers and gold and glorious. Her choice was made and her doom appointed. I'm like, way to kill the mood, Tolkien. Way to kill them.
No kidding.
But basically, that was kind of like the, "Aw, Galadriel, you're playing dress up with the little humans."
Also playing matchmaker. She's like, Elrond, get over it.
Because wasn't she cousins with Luthien, right? If I remember correctly.
No.
History and timelines for immortal beings get confusing.
Hold on. Let me hold on.
There is a timeline somewhere around there.
Hold on. Okay. Yes. Yeah. They were distant cousins. So Ulwe and Elwe, which is so Thingol and Melian have Luthien.
Mm-hmm.
And Ulwe and I do not know how to say this person's name. Have so Finarfin and Ulwe's daughter have Finrod and all of Galadriel's brothers and Galadriel. So yes. So Ulwe and Thingol are brothers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
so I don't know if that you can see it's not gonna focus.
I've got the same one pulled up.
So yes, they were related distantly, but yes, they were related.
So but she also knew the story of Beren and Luthien.
She was there. She watched it happen. Hi, Ark. She was probably counsel having to deal with Melian being like, my daughter's choosing a man. I'm sorry. I love this idea that Galadriel is friends with this goddess, and she's they're confiding in one another. I just love that.
But yeah, my immortal daughter has chosen to marry a human.
Sorry, women bitch to each other. I can't imagine that there were not a few bitch sessions.
I mean, and Galadriel was probably like, "Love?" Question mark?
Right? She's like, "Well, I chose way beneath me. It happens. Don't judge your daughter."
Here's the thing that I don't think Amazon realizes. Tolkien literally throughout all of the books, the women were way above the men.
Way above the men. Way above them. They all which I find so touching. It's so cute. That makes me happy.
Yes.
All these women, they're just all So I'm going to try and do a video on my channel about Lord of the Rings, because I know people have been like, why have you not made some content for your channel about Lord of the Rings? You're clearly very passionate about this. I want to talk about how what Amazon is doing, especially with Galadriel, because again, I would love to see her and Celeborn's love story. Please give it to me. But what makes me sad is that Amazon and Hollywood, and this isn't anything earth-shattering, we all know this is happening, is that it's wrong to want to be pursued by a good man. That we should want to be the beauty that they unveil.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I just hate that. So, Amazon, yes. I don't like you. So yeah, though that's what I want to do. I'm going to try and write a script, because I've got a couple more book reviews that I want to have come out. But That's what makes me the saddest.
Look at you being a proper YouTuber and me over here not making a new video in weeks.
You stream on Twitch. Twitch is like this ethereal thing I can't figure out. Like, I felt so proud of myself when I figured out how to slap a sticker. I was like, I did it! Finally figured out that. So you guys who stream on Twitch, I just don't. Because like Tugs and a couple like Cappy has like said, you should stream on Twitch. And I'm like, no. I don't know how to figure. I don't even know where I would put my PS4. I don't know any of the things. I have absolutely no idea how to figure any of that out. So,
well, one of these days, if I make it out your way, I will help you figure out some of this stuff.
Okay.
Because we realized last week that I don't live too far away from you.
No, you do not. You do not live too far from me. So, yes, I would love that. So you pulled a troubled green. I pulled a you? What are you talking about? What? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. You mean with the sticker? Elaborate.
Yes, I think.
Okay. In any case, so that's what I want to talk about. It's just that it just makes me so sad that they're like, Tolkien has no strong women and he put them all on pedestals. First of all, I want to be on a pedestal, please and thank you. I would love to be on somebody's pedestal. I would
bow down.
just to be loved in this. Okay. Anyways.
Like to where, like, you know, Aragorn like calls out like this, like Tuviel.
I know. He's like, I'm gonna give you a name because I don't know your name, but I'm gonna give you the prettiest name I know.
And it's Luthien's name. And like everyone's just like, I knew her. She was amazing.
Okay, listen to me, Elrond. This has happened before. It was before your time. But I know this can work. Just let it go.
I bet like any conversations that the Galadriel and Elrond had, Galadriel's like, I've been through this before. It's not going to end the best, but it's going to end better than you think it will. It's okay. Exactly. I literally knew Beren and Luthien. Like, I watched them grow up as like little dykes.
Exactly. She did. She watched them grow up. Yes, Ark, that's it. And no, I don't like, and don't get me wrong, I like the girl knight trope. I do. If it's done well, I think it's a good trope. I don't have any problem with like the strong woman trope of like stepping outside a gender norm. But the problem is that we've taken it so far that it's like, yeah, no, I'd like to be the woman in the window, not the damsel in distress necessarily. The woman in the window has a lot more connotations as far as literature is concerned. I would like to be her, please. I don't need a sword. Like I posted on my Instagram, like that quote from Liv Tyler, you don't need a sword in her hand to make her strong. And Tolkien wrote so many incredibly beautiful, strong women. And it just breaks my heart that Amazon is telling us it's not okay. That kind of strong is not okay. Which again, why are any of us concerned? They did that with Gina. Like that level of strong is like not okay. But it hurts my heart that just so many beautiful love stories that Tolkien wrote, and they're all like, yeah, this is garbage. We need to update this. No? We need to update anything. Assholes.
A stained glass window does not need to be updated.
No. And it needs to be made in the exact same way it was made in the 14th century. Just FYI.
Basically. We're not worthy. I know what reference he's... We're not worthy.
Anyway, this has been a fantastic stream. This has been really, really good. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out. We had an awesome time. So next time, our stream, first of all, we will be diving into the Unfinished Tales, but Mando and I have decided, and this is, so I did get that copy. This is the copy we'll be using if anyone would like to get it and follow along. It's at Barnes and Nobles. I think it's like $9.
$8.99.
There you go. What we have decided to do is, because again, we're gonna blink and it's gonna be September, and because the Unfinished Tales are so detailed and so in depth, and I looked at one of these chapters and we may have to break that chapter in two. What we decided to do, we're gonna bump our stream up to being a weekly stream, so it will be at Saturday, 10:30 Central. 10:30 Central. It's going to be every week now, and we're going to probably just take it a chapter at a time. We will update you on our social media, but that's what we've decided to do because, we learned we learned things with doing the Silmarillion. We learned how we want to do this. So yes, we're going to bump this up weekly, and we're probably going to just take it a chapter at a time, especially for the unfinished tales. We'll see what happens when we get to the histories, but for the unfinished tales, definitely a chapter at a time because it's a lot.
And for those of you who like are loving this and want us to go through all of the histories, I personally, I don't know about you, Elijah, I don't have all of the histories, so I'm
No.
having to buy them individually.
Yeah.
So this is not a selfless plug, but it is a selfless plug. If you want us to keep going through these histories, they cost money.
Yes, they're about like, I mean, yeah, each book's about $15. So
yeah, I'm about to get the Lays of Valerian,
yeah.
and that's like $16.
Yeah.
So like there are 13 books in this series, and each of them are about $16.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know. Not saying you have to donate.
Yes.
But just saying it's appreciated.
It is very appreciated. Yeah. So I've got the first three. I've got the first three, and then I've got number 6 for some odd reason. I don't know why I have this. Oh, I got it at Barnes and Nobles. That's why I found it. So I do have the first three.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Amber. So okay, sounds good. Thank you, Ark. Yeah, I see you around, Ark. Chug streams are the best. Chug streams are my favorite. So anyways, so that is the goal. I don't know if we've decided, and we probably need to talk about this off stream, if we're going to go through the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. I don't know if we've decided if we're going to do that yet. I think we were thinking initially we were just going to do the histories because it's more in depth. So, but yeah, so any, again, supporting us through our Streamlabs, please, through Mando's, what am I trying to spit out? Twitch. So please, if you can, $1 here or there is deeply, deeply appreciated. So, but next week we will be doing the first chapter. I think, I don't have my book in front of me. The first chapter of the Unfinished Tales on Mando's channel. And yeah, we're just going to keep trucking along.
Yes, for the you mod peoples, if you would please plug my channel in so people know where to go.
Do I have any?
Oh, I forgot that they had like the maps and stuff of the Oh, these are mountains, guys. These are all mountains. So the first one,
Steph. Thank you. Yes, please go follow Mando on Twitch.
Yes, and then I also have a YouTube channel.
Yes, she does. And I think I've got that in the description. Let me make sure. Yeah, I do. I've got your Instagram, your YouTube, and your Twitch in the description down below.
Yeah, it'll be on my YouTube channel that we're having the next episode of Literary Soul Sisters.
Yes.
So the first chapter of the Unfinished Tale, we're basically going back into the story of Gondolin and Tuor and Duer and Varian and Luthien, all of those people. So we're going to go back into the first stage.
Yes.
Yay.
And just so you guys know, that is available on Audible. After we get through with the Unfinished Tales, it's physical reading from here on out, which I am deeply dreading. Just simply because I just, time. It's just so much easier to listen to them on audiobook. So Unfinished Tales is the last thing you can get on audio. And I'm sure I would be shocked if there wasn't a reading on YouTube somewhere. So just so you know, FYI. Yes, and here is
oh, you didn't do the full link. It cut off part of my channel name.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. I will grab it real fast.
Okay. Oh, you're a bookworm. You got this. I know.
That's weird.
Is it not doing it? Did I do it wrong?
No, you did do it right, but like when I clicked on it, it didn't pull it up. Oh, that's weird.
That's weird. Oh, that's bizarre. Okay, I'll have to fix that. I will fix that for next time, or I'll after we get through. But okay, there's Mando's channel. So yes, please go subscribe to her. We'll be on her next Saturday, 10:30. I'm just gonna say that probably from here on out, I'm not going to be as gussied up as I usually am because it's 9:30 my time, and I usually am out late on Friday nights. So get used to the messy bun because that's what it's going to be from here on out.
And this was a special occasion, so I got a little bit dressed up. Yeah. This is me dressing up, guys. Okay,
Love
I
it.
tried. I
Love it.
tried.
I love it, love it, love it.
One of these days, I'll just wear a dress to throw everybody off.
I know. I'm gonna wear a dress tomorrow for church. It's gonna be something. So, anyways,
Same.
okay, guys, thank you all so much for being here. You guys are amazing. We had such a good time. I'm sorry if I was delirious and so exhausted, but thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. And if there's anything else, Mando, if there's anything else, we will talk to you all later.
Yeah, I'll be actually going live on my Twitch stream in a couple of hours playing,
Awesome. So please,
playing with Nick Titanaries.
please follow Mando on Twitch. So I will probably see you guys in the chat because I'm going to be knitting today. So much love to all of you. Go create something. Go work on your goals for 15 minutes today. Go do something good for your heart. And happy Easter. Have a very, very blessed Easter. He is risen. And we will see you guys later. Bye.
He is risen indeed.